there was a group of tourists with a guide as they were sitting in the gallery of the House of Representatives. As the chaplain, Father Pat Conroy, was about to give the invocation, one of the tourists leaned to the guide and asked if he was praying for the members. The guide replied to the tourist, no, he looks over the members and he's praying for the country. But the difference is, I think, as we consider our circumstances in Washington, really come down to a very basic question. As we look at all of the challenges we face, what is the appropriate role for government today? And it's on that issue that we find the divisiveness. What I find and what I'm encouraged by is that if we can just possibly set that question aside for the moment, I'm encouraged a degree to which I find meaningful dialogue and extraordinary consensus. And I want to just touch on a few of those examples before I move into the thrust of what it is I want to share with you this morning. I am encouraged by the fact that as I talk to my Republican friends, my conservative friends, my liberal friends, there is a consensus about the three major challenges we face in healthcare today. I don't know of a person who denies that we have a serious problem with regard to cost. We're going to spend about $35 trillion in healthcare over the next 10 years. We're going to be spending more than the next 10 countries combined. And while we've had a little bit of a reprieve over the last couple of years, there is no expectation that unless we address cost in a meaningful way, it will continue to be one of the major challenges we face. I could elaborate on a lot of the different ways we could relate to the cost challenge, but in the interest of time, we'll come back to that if you have questions. I also don't think there's much difference of opinion between liberals and conservatives with regard to the challenges we face in access. I'm lucky enough to have a small role on an advisory committee at Harvard, and they just came out with a new study last year that said 45,000 people last year alone died because they had no health insurance. That isn't an assertion, that's a fact. We have an access problem, and there is very little disagreement about that. We also have quality issues. We know that. We aren't performing like we should. And it's all the more problematic when we consider how much money we're investing in health in this country. So on cost, quality, and access, there are very few differences of opinion. And while I won't list them all, there's actually a great deal of consensus on the causes. We know, for example, that we have excessive volume driven in large measure by our fee-for-service payment system. We know that we have unnecessary care in part because of defensive medicine. We know that we lack coordination, especially for post-acute and chronic illness. We know that we have issues that we don't touch politically because they are end of life. And we also know we have fraud and abuse. And that's just getting us started. We have administrative costs that are almost twice as high as the rest of the world, in part because we have a 21st century operating room and a 19th century administrative room in many parts of the country today. What's amazing to me is that when I assert that there is a common goal, I don't even get disagreement on that. From Republicans, from Democrats, conservatives, and liberals, if I would suggest that our goal is to build a high-performance, high-value healthcare capacity with greater access, better quality, and lower cost, I don't get any disagreement. And so there is a lot at its core about health for which I am encouraged and for which I think there is a real possibility to build this new health paradigm. There's a growing understanding that if we're going to achieve the goal that I just articulated, that we're going to have to move to comprehensive wellness solutions, far better management, and increased reliance on population health. Well, the enactment of the Affordable Care Act 3.5 years ago gave us the opportunity to begin this process of dealing with the problems, the causes, and the goal. But it exacerbated the whole question over the role of government.